like, whereas, oh my God. So like, okay. So like where you would have like a doggy position.
Yeah, nice. We're getting the tutorial, everybody.
The chair, right? Who is the person? Like in normal life, it would just be straight on, right? Mm-hmm. It'd be the straight on thing. But in porn, it has to be like opened up, right?
This is like a Clint Eastwood scene. How does it affect your sex lives outside of the industry? Like, does that change because of it?
I don't fuck anyone anymore, y'all.
Fair enough.
I'm fully celibate. Just kidding, but I make everyone get tested at the same place that I get tested. I now am a crazy person in terms of my sexual health and safety. Which has actually been really great because in terms of COVID stuff, it's been really easy for me to do, like, when were you last tested? What's your exposure like? Because that's already how I operated in terms of STIs.
And I guess, like, the idea is that you're also endangering other people if you're not as diligent as you are, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. Like I don't like I'm big on the testing stuff like that. Like you gotta go test at our place. Like I've had that happen where it's like if I was, like talking to someone off of like a dating thing or whatever, and then they're just like, oh, well, what if I like just went to like my doctor and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, that's cool, but like our testing's like standardized for like people who have sex all the time and like want to like work in this industry. So if that's okay, like we can do that, or we can just not do stuff. Like that's kind of like my.
Also, the testing that we use is actually more sophisticated than the standard tests. Like for HIV, we use an RNA PCR test, which detects the RNA of the virus instead of the antibodies that your body creates. So our HIV test can detect HIV transmission within, I want to say, like 2 weeks of exposure instead of the standard like 6 months that the regular testing that most people get from their regular doctor or primary care physician or Planned Parenthood or what have you, which is why there is the HIV test caveat of like, you could have it for 6 months and not know, which is why, our testing is so important to us and why we use that. It's actually the same kind of test that people are using for COVID. It's a PCR test, which detects the presence of the virus in your body, not an antibody test.
Is that a big thing in the industry? Are you getting a lot of COVID testing?
Oh, yeah.
Now we are. Fuck yeah.
For my company, like for like browsers and stuff, like I have to, like we have to test every, like it's a 24-hour period test, right? So like we have to like have, if we're gonna shoot a scene with somebody tomorrow, we have to have a test that we went and got tested yesterday. It's like it's very much rapid fire with our stuff. So that like now that people are getting back into, or at least the company I work for, because that's the only like thing I can really speak from, are taking it really serious with how much and how often we COVID test,
I was going to say, if it wasn't for that, it would make, I guess, acting in this current environment really difficult.
Yeah.
It's kind of ironic that that's like the stigma around us, is that like we're dirtier or like more susceptible to that stuff, but we're typically a lot cleaner than like civilians.
Yeah.
Also, I would just like to point out that yes, people think that we're dirty, but using language like clean and dirty to signify STD or HIV status is stigmatizing, because you wouldn't call someone with like a cold dirty. Like having HIV doesn't mean that you're a dirty person. Like you could have gotten HIV from a multitude of situations that have nothing to do with dirt. And I don't mean to like call you out specifically on that or anything.
Yeah, typically when speaking like that, I mean more so like people's practices
Perception of
or
us.
like their I don't know. Some people have really poor like I don't know hygiene and stuff.
Personal hygiene. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm
Perpetuation of the
I'm
stigma
I'm
around-
100% on the same page with you when it comes to
like
calling
even
people dirty for not testing.
like
Not calling people dirty for having a positive test.
even beyond like the testing, like all the like I remember on my first set, like I wasn't even really familiar with some of the like just like hygiene products that they had on set. And it
You talk about douching?
Yeah, douching. And I didn't, not that I didn't think it was that, you know, standardized, but it's not something that really like occurs to you when you think about porn, that it's so like, I don't know, everything behind the scenes. It's very like spick and span, like, so.
Except for when your male talent has the shit on his dick from the last girl he fucked.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, watch up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a paranoid motherfucker anyway. So like, I'm
Does not take that long.
yeah, right. It doesn't take long. You know, no matter how big you got, no matter how big your tool is, it doesn't take long to clean it, man.
Dude, Xander will also like run. Can you look at the chat and see that someone just said, I blocked them because I don't want to accept there are black performers who like race play? No, it's just that I don't agree with race play, so I don't participate in it. And don't fucking misgender me after I specifically say my pronouns.
Yeah, it's they them
Like-
chat.
Like it's just ridiculous. You don't have to do that. But I was gonna say, yeah, Xander be washing his dick in the sink sometimes after.
I am.
Oh yeah,
Xander likes to
totally.
clean.
The same thing.
Yeah, I'm a weird hygiene freak. It's a whole thing.
You're also sensitive to acidic vagina
That's true.
fluids.
And like coconut oil and a bunch of stuff like really bothers my skin. So
There are a lot of things like that people don't consider as well. Like, you know, people have allergies and sensitivities, and like certain chemicals don't work well with people.
So how does that all work? Do you have kind of like a list that you give like your agents? I mean, I have so many questions. We gotta ask how do the agents work? Are you guys unionized? And
not unionized.
All right. Yeah, I guess we'll go down that rabbit hole. But okay, my first question being is that so when it comes to specifics like that, and I know there's also a question of racism within the industry too, because you can also specify whether or not you're okay having sex with, say, like non-white people, right?
Are you trying to talk about the interracial thing? Because you can just say black.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, it just means black guy basically.
Yeah, there is no discrimination. I have never once heard of a model being like, oh, I don't fuck Latino dudes or I don't fuck Asian dudes. It's always only about black men.
And that's just black people specifically.
Anti-blackness.
Yeah, it is.
It's specifically anti-blackness, and it's specifically something that is generally only afforded to non-people of color, and so to white people in the industry. Like it's not a thing where you are celebrating like black performers like first interracial or giving them a higher rate or putting that taboo on a pedestal. Like agents oftentimes maintain that system of getting a higher rate for a first interracial performance.
I actually have a little anecdote that I'd love to share of was probably my first year in the industry. I was sitting on, so back in the olden days, kink.com used to own the Armory in San Francisco. It was a big, essentially, castle where they shot kinky pornography. And so there was the model room where models, they would shoot, probably fucking 20 scenes a day. And when we had downtime, we would just sit around together. I don't even think I was working with Mickey, but we were sitting there and I wrote like a stream of consciousness medium piece on this if anyone is interested in looking at it. I don't know how well it's aged, but I was sitting there talking about how my agent sucked, and I said something like, and my roommate is having to do like IR boy girls for the same rate as, you know, non-IR scenes. And Mickey just said very matter-of-factly to me, yeah, I mean, it's kind of racist inherently to charge more to fuck a black guy. And I was just like, yeah, obviously it is. Holy shit. How did I not ever consider that on my own? You know, as someone who, I've been progressive my entire life. I've always been where I am politically. Like my politics have not really changed. They've just evolved. So and I really I'll blame that on my own ignorance, obviously, but the way that my agent was like, don't fuck a black guy, you'll get more money for it later. And there are girls who have gotten paid upwards of $5,000 for the first time that they've fucked a black guy on camera.
Wow.
And then they'll be contracted to not fuck other black guys on camera.
Yeah, there's a very notorious company that does exactly that. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, you
Why?
have
What?
unless it's for them. Yeah. Yeah.
The kind of excuse that they make is that it has to do with big dicks. But if that was the case, it would be a big dick rate.
Yeah, what
porn,
about
all the
fucking
dicks are
Danny
big.
D?
All
They're
the
not
dicks
all
are big in
big.
porn.
They're not all
But
that big, Mickey.
They're not all, but
Definitely not.
the majority of the dicks in porn are big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's Dredd and Danny D that are like extra big.
Okay.
Mandingo. Like, there are some dicks that are just bigger than the average. But yeah, and that was something that I even used as an excuse to my fans when they were like, oh my god, Janice, when are you gonna do IR? And I was like, I just can't handle like a big black cock, which is so cringy and embarrassing for me now as a not 18-year-old, because I was 18 at the time, which I'm not trying to excuse any of my behavior or past decision making. But I also, from the get, didn't want to shoot with a black performer and have it be racially marketed. And that is my standard for shooting with black performers, is that you cannot market my scenes as interracial or anything having to do with black cock, black this, unless it's the very simple description of, you know, black man, brown person. Like, that would be the extent of using racial terminology to market my scene that I would be comfortable
Do they respect that?
Not generally, but that's the thing. I only work, or I would only do it for people that I know would follow my rules. So I've only shot with black people for a few companies who I've been like, listen, this is what you need to do for me to shoot this scene. And generally, I've had a big mouth my whole time in the industry. Like when I was first put on latinasextapes.com, I bitched the company out on Twitter. I was like, what the fuck is this racial marketing? I'm not Latina. Was that the next thing? So I'm popular enough now, and I've made a name for myself to the point where, like, they kind of don't want the backlash. And I don't know. Yeah.
I've had that same issue. I've had a lot of sites try to exploit my like ambiguity. And I guess the biggest one that I always get titled with is like Asian. They try to market me as Asian. And because I'm newer, when I would be more outspoken about that kind of thing, like my agent would kind of like, in so many words, kind of tell me to like
shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And you know, would blame that on like, you know, not getting bookings because you're outspoken and XYZ, and really, really tried to push for me to shoot for interracial sites that I refused to do because I just knew how it was going to be marketed. But it's really like a gamble because, you know, when we shoot scenes, we sign away the rights. So there's definitely like a factor of like exploiting when it comes out and they know they can do whatever they want with the scene because we don't have any say so anymore contractually. So I've shot scenes where like when I was brand new and it didn't come out for maybe like a year and a half, and then when it did come out, you know, they put it on some, you know, news site that is literally a race fetish site, like Asian cuties or whatever the hell it's called. And that's harder to undo, whereas like before I've had a site, it just put me on like a basic not really a theme site, but the title and the description was like Asian this just like very microaggressive like terms and stuff. And I was able to like pitch a bitch then to my agent, like change the title and description. But it's like when they roll something out on an entire racial website, it's like harder. And then it was confusing my fans. And it's like when stuff goes out on mainstream porn sites, there's all these like fan sites and blogs and threads and things that pick up on it and, you know, copy and paste. So it's really hard once that's out there of you to kind of retract it.
I was gonna ask because I don't know if Xander or Mickey, you both, if either of you do like bisexual porn, but there's a big stigma around that as well, right? And whether or not you like rotate between straight porn and gay porn.
Yeah, there's a big stigma about it, for sure. Can we get Mickey's name on the thing as well?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I'll update this in real time.
Do you want to
There is a performer, I think that, you know, who could speak to this better than any of us could. His name is Wolf Hudson.
Okay.
Yeah, Wolf definitely.
I would suggest checking him out because he's sort of been one of the pioneers of male performers participating in bisexual porn in a mainstream sense and not being blacklisted for it. Because when I got into the industry, you were told...
That's not actually true. That's not actually true. Wolf has been blacklisted by a number of agents, a number of companies. I did my first scene ever, group scene with Wolf, and I've known him the length of my entire career. I've done bisexual scenes myself. I've had to hide them, downplay them, not promote them. And in my experience of having to choose between more mainstream hetero stuff and how I personally identify as a queer person, that experience is, in order to further a career in a certain direction, I've had to make choices that don't reflect my own personal values, my own personal sexuality. And I've seen Wolf struggle with it for a long time. Wolf is like one of my best friends. He was at my wedding. I have a scene with Wolf that's on his channel where it's POV, so it's my POV of me fucking Wolf and another person. I've seen with John Johnson and a number of other people that have had to obscure it because if I did choose, you have to choose like one path or the other, or you don't get to work on graphics, you don't get to work on, you know, digital platforms, all the other properties we know will not support and will not hire people who don't fall into the hetero normative.
Could I finish what I was saying?
Wait, just one quick thing, Mickey. I think your mic, you might be hooked up to
experience.
Sorry, Mickey, your mic might be you might have it switched to the wrong one. I'm not sure, but you're very, very quiet. I've got you maxed out on my end. I'm not sure if it's only coming in through your earbuds, perhaps. Yeah, that's better.
Janice, do you want to continue?
I didn't want to speak over you, but I was, you know, trying to say something, and I didn't want to invalidate your experience or try to tell you about, you know, your own experience and your own friend. I was just speaking in terms of this year, and what I was going to say is that from when I got into the industry 7 years ago compared to now, the difference is extremely stark in the acceptance of bisexual men and bisexual men shooting content with female performers who primarily shoot, you know, hetero content. What Sorry, I was sort of losing my train of thought there. But what I don't remember what I was originally saying. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries at all. I could follow that up with something else because so there's a stigma, I guess, for bisexual male performers that doesn't apply to female performers, I'm assuming.
It doesn't apply to female performers at all because lesbian porn is actually straight porn.
By definition. And,
yeah, but
and what about being a non-binary performer? What aspect is that? Because is that even like acknowledged? Did they speak about it? Did they respect that?
They don't acknowledge it. They don't respect it. I've been ridiculed on set for it. I showed up to set and the script writer had followed me on Twitter, so they knew my pronouns. And in the script, they put my proper pronouns. And on set, everyone said, "Who's they? Who's them? I didn't know we were shooting groups of people as one person." And it was really demoralizing. But I think talking about the bisexual men in porn is a little more important in this point because I see in the chat people are talking about it, and it does have to do with HIV stigma and homophobia, essentially, because people don't believe that men can be bisexual. For whatever reason, everyone thinks that bisexuality is fake. Women who are bisexual are actually straight, and men who are bisexual are actually gay. And somehow people don't believe that you can like both genders of people. But the scriptwriter, in regards to the scriptwriter, it's someone that I know and actually, interact with. And then she got a job writing scripts.
What about pansexuality? Is that even entertained at all in the industry?
So that's not really like a genre that we use, I would want to say. Like I would identify as definition-wise pansexual, but I just use bisexual instead to describe that.
Like they kind of go based off of the scene. Like, is this a lesbian scene or a bisexual scene or straight scene? Sometimes they list orientations on our little profiles on the site, but
what about
I actually was no, touching on that subject there. I've talked to I think all three of you about this. This how, like, in the past, if it hadn't been for like my experiences at like kink.com, I would have never understood. Like I was just like a dumb drunk idiot from Ohio like most of my life, and I just fucking like I didn't know that much about LGBTQ culture or like any of that stuff, and I especially didn't know about like anything substantial about like the trans experience or any of that kind of stuff. So I only knew the kind of weird, because there's this weird echo chamber of like the old guard of porn that kind of like thinks all these things that they're talking about, right? Like where it's like the stigmas against trans performers or bi performers or whatever that thing is. There's a whole like almost like bro club of just like these guys who just over exert this like toxic masculine like ideals and like standards about themselves and the people around them. And like I'd only known that from the way I grew up and from like the people I'd worked with in porn and like the whole society of porn that I'd been a part of for so long, until getting to kink, and that was where I met Mickey and where I met a bunch of like trans people that were like amazing, and like I and just across like the whole spectrum of gender and orientation and whatever else, like, and that really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff because I believed a bunch of that dumb shit from before. You know what I mean? Like what Janice was talking about the the stigmas with the HIV thing and like all this other stuff. Like I was dumb enough to believe all of that shit and not ask my own questions because I just accepted the what was in front of me. You know what I mean? Because I was realistically, it was probably because I was too scared to like even indulge, because like I'd been inundated with so many like fears from like old agent experiences from the day and stuff like that, where they were saying like, oh, like don't hang out with you know, like there was one time I went to a black metal concert with like one of my like a male performer buddy who had ended up doing like he did buy stuff as well, and like my agent at the time, a long time ago, told me, you know, oh, like don't let people know that you're hanging out with this person because, you know, they'll think you're bi too. And I'm like, what? Like, why does that matter? Like, I don't understand. You know what I mean? So I didn't like disregard this person. I went and I talked to this guy a lot. And there was even an experience I had where this same person had called me one day, and this was like 8 years ago, long time ago, and had called me one day and been like, hey, like I just heard a rumor that your dad's black. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, are you telling people that? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, like why wouldn't I? What's wrong with that? And he's like, well,
why would I lie about it?
Yeah, he's like, well, you probably shouldn't tell people stuff like that. I mean, just like keep that down because, you know, people are going to think you're a black performer and all this other stuff. Like you need to.
What?
Yeah, no, it was fucking crazy. And I remember just standing there at this ATM and I'm just like on my phone, like putting a check in the thing. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? You know what I mean? And like, I was so like I had this like stomach aching, like horrible feeling. Like, he was like, yeah, you know, people won't want to work with you and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I'm not even as me back then as like not like a particularly woke or on the right side of like thought type person, like even that then just struck me as just something so deeply wrong with the way that porn had been functioning, you know?
Also, I bet no performer has ever charged their interracial rate to work with you.
This is true. That's never happened. And I used to joke about like how like technically every scene I do is interracial if we want to get on that thing, because like I'm a mixed person. So it's like unless I'm working directly with other mixed people, is like this not interracial? Like I don't understand. Like
Same.
It's just because
right?
so it's because you're so white passing, basically.
Yeah. It's because I do like appear like super white, and that's fine. Like I'm okay with that. I understand that, and I understand the privilege that also comes with. But I know that, you know, I, as a person who gets the privilege of the white privilege of looking the way that I do, like I am definitely feel like I have a responsibility to like be there and like reinforce and help my like black friends who appear black with my platform and with the things that I do, you know? Like I feel like it's something that I should do. And like I know that there's a lot of the whole thing about like, you know, black, like people of color, black people shouldn't have to teach you about, you know, the way they or about things, you know, and I understand that, and that's fine, like, and I agree, but I feel like because of the way that I look and stuff too, I kind of have a responsibility to bridge that gap where I can, you know.
Yeah,
that's just a personal thing. I'm not saying that that's how it fucking goes. I'm just saying this is just what I do. Right, Opal? Opal agrees.
So she's just really interested in leftist politics and the intricacies of the porn industry.
So cute.
That's another unique kind of experience that I've shared too. I don't know if I would call myself white passing, because people usually can tell I'm something, but they just can't figure out what. But I've always acknowledged my privilege and colorism, and the experiences that I've had, though they dealt with like racism in the industry, I've also been afforded privileges that, you know, my black counterparts don't get, because of them being a darker complexion or not able to pass or be ambiguous. So
Right.
while I've turned down those opportunities, I still like acknowledge that I have them. But it does let you have kind of a inside look on the preferred treatment that you get, versus, you know, because I could have been a shady person and joined the industry and just let my ethnicity remain like ambiguous and, you know, took all those opportunities and been somebody who does, you know, those IR sites and made a big check off of it. But it really does cost us to be ethical.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask, like, what are workers' rights for, you know, porn stars? Do you guys like? I hear some of you have agents. Are they ethical? Is it better to have one? I mean, Xander just said there's no such thing as a union. How does that work?
I mean, there's there's things that like, I mean, there's things that like, how do I politically like correctly say this? Like, there's things that like,
Yeah,
like,
you don't have to say anything that's going to get you in trouble in your day.
Yeah, no,
please, like you don't have to throw shade. You don't have to throw tea. You know, like.
Yeah, there's things that like, you know, there's groups that work towards goals that are great, but like if we're talking about like a functional union, like as in like, you know, workers like that has like a safety net of like, you know, healthcare and all this other kind of stuff that we'd be fighting for, like that's you know, not so much the case. Like they're definitely working towards good goals, and I support the ones that are. But yeah, as saying like a due paying like union that we're all a part of to work, that does not exist. No.
And one that would provide, like you mentioned to me briefly, and I really wanted to touch on this next time I spoke to you during the charity stream about mental health and awareness in that field, and how does that get touched on at all?
Well, I mean, the pineapple support thing is what has like helped me. Like, you know, it's a group that kind of helps us get the mental health support that I think that sex workers, that's something that we should definitely have. You know, because like no matter how we look at it or how we cut it, like sex work is intimate, and it like involves your mind and body on like on pretty deep levels in a lot of ways. So I think that, you know, us having mental health support available is super important. But yeah, that's how I got my therapist and stuff. It just it comes to like you just hit the site up and like send them the emails and stuff, and they get you like a lot better rates, you know what I mean, of like per session to
interject to mention something.
Yeah.
Just that Pineapple Support has been having some issues in terms of performer complaints that they are, instead of matching them with therapists, matching them with life coaches. It's been like it hasn't been addressed yet, but it has been brought up to Pineapple Support. So while they have done amazing things for some performers, I don't want to advertise them as, you know, all perfect or anything like that, because they did violate HIPAA on Twitter for a performer. So good and bad. Just want to put that out there.
Yeah, no, then that's fine. I'm just saying as something that like has made some motions towards, you know, getting us mental health care. Like I would never say
Totally
anything to anyone, like especially me. I'm not fucking perfect. Jesus Christ, I'm a fucking idiot. But like I'm choosing to try and be better. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, that's you know, that's what helped me. And I think either way, like with or without pineapple, I think that, you know, like healthcare and mental health support, like especially, is super important for people in our line of work. Because I could have fucking used it. Like I might not have been such an alcoholic dumb fuck for so long if I would have had the ability to address.
Been ruining it since the beginning of time.
Can you talk about that? Because like for someone like me, I have no idea how agents work in the industry. Like, how do you acquire one? What do they do? Is it just like a regular casting agent?
Kind of, but they don't do jack shit, man. They are all bad, in my personal opinion. And so they get you bookings, and they're supposed to tell you your information for the shoot, and they're supposed to communicate your boundaries and what sex acts you do to people who are booking you. And the reason that I don't have an agent anymore is because when I was with someone, they didn't do any of those things.
and still took 15%, I bet.
Exactly. So they are also the people who tell models, don't shoot with black guys, don't do anal yet, because you'll get more money later on. So they're just really in it for the money. My first agent would do coke all day and drive me around and yell at me about how I was a bitch. So
that sounds horrifying. Like something out of a bad 80s movie.
Yeah, I mean, he was like non-threatening in my opinion, because I wasn't scared of his bitch ass, but
yeah, my experience with agents was like a lot I mean, I keep using the word predatory, but that's really what it was, because I was so young and I was like in a situation where I was kind of like reliant on it working out, and I didn't know like the horror stories of living in like a model house and like that whole kind of dynamic, and it just felt very like culty and weird, and like you kind of had to be like a cheerleader for your agency, when in reality they're supposed to be working for you. That's really what it is. But it was kind of made out to be like you need to identify with this group, or you're not going to be like afforded the same like opportunities or that kind of thing. But yeah, I think a lot of people can attest to how agents are negatively affecting them personally and just the industry as a whole.
You've all talked about the rate too. Like, how does the rate work? Is it based on your level of skill? And I know we've already talked about how there's a really racist element to it, but how does that get determined?
How basically it's how much the production likes you, how well you sell, how rare you are. Like, if you never shoot anal scenes, you will get paid a ton of money to shoot an anal scene. I think Mickey has to leave in a second. So is there any... Oh, he already left. I was going to be like, is there anything you want to say?
He just rage quit. Did you know Mickey's socials at all? Could we plug them for him?
Yeah, here, let me... It's Mickey Mod, but let me just check and see what his... He's the Mickey Mod on Instagram. And then I'm checking to see what he is on Twitter. And then...
And Scarlett, I never asked, but your she, her pronouns? I just put them up on the screen. Okay.
Yes.
Let me adjust that.
He's the Mickey Mod on both Instagram and Twitter and OnlyFans. So same username everywhere.
And he was the only member who works exclusively in gay porn?
No, he has participated. So what he said was that he's participated in bisexual porn that he has had to downplay the existence of in order to continue his career being as profitable as it is, and to make it so that he could continue performing with I'm assuming, I don't want to mince his words, but straight female performers, because our agents told us, you know, when I first got into the industry, it was do not shoot with bisexual guys. And they didn't even say bisexual guys. They were like guys who do gay shit.
Wow.
7 years ago, it blacklisted you from the industry. It made it so that you could not work with anyone. Now it still blacklists you from a lot of people, which is silly because, especially in terms of the HIV scare, like we're all using the same fucking test. So how are you gonna not like how are you gonna get HIV if we all used the same test?
Yeah, I remember a girl at my agency, she was so new, and I remember I thought she was like so cute and like just like promising, you know, and she did content, not even like a actual scene, but just like content trade with a I guess they say crossover performer, and
crossover is deemed to be an offensive word to describe it, but that is the word that they taught us to use, crossover. But it's like, what are they crossing over from? Anyway, sorry to interrupt you. Please continue.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was problematic or not, but a bisexual male performer and a female performer, and I remember she just disappeared, and I was just kind of like, what happened to this girl? And you know, my agency just dropped her, and she was like gone, like forever blacklisted. And I remember thinking that was just so ridiculous and like so sad, because you know she had, you know, really, you know, rolled the dice on this and put everything into it, and something that small just completely ended her career.
Wow. You mentioned James Dean earlier, and obviously I don't want both of you to have to throw shade on any specific people, but could you talk about maybe the problematic characters? I know you said you really wanted to talk about Mia Khalifa, Janice, but it doesn't have to be about a specific person, more about like what
I want to
surrounds...
talk about Mia Khalifa so bad. I am so tired of her getting all of this mainstream attention talking about how porn is the worst thing that happened to her when Bang Bros released a website with clips of her saying that she had creative control over all of these things that she did. And I'm Muslim. I'm Indian and I'm Muslim. So to see someone wear hijab in pornography boiled my blood in a way that I can't explain to you. She's from Lebanon, and in her Wikipedia page, it says that she is Greek Orthodox Christian. If you're familiar with the political landscape currently in Lebanon, you know that there is an extreme tension between Christian people and Muslim people. So to be Christian and wear hijab in pornography is, first of all, it's fucking blasphemous. It's haram. Second of all, that's not how hijabs work. I know that a lot of non-Muslim people don't know that, but you don't wear hijab inside your own house with your family. Like, you only have to cover your hair if you're with someone that you could potentially marry. Like,
And the whole thing was done as what, like a fetish, or?
yeah, a fetish. And it's, I don't stand for any hijab pornography, especially from non-Muslim people. If a Muslim person wants to make hijab porn as, you know, reclaiming something the same way that, you know, ex-Catholics or people who've gone to Catholic school make blasphemous nun porn, that's different. But especially with the current culture of Islamophobia in the United States, it seems really ignorant and aggressive. Like, she had big old titties. She didn't need to wear a hijab to get views on her scenes. You know, she's like, they were already going to fetishize her as an Arab woman. She didn't have to do that, and she did.
What
like,
do you I was gonna ask, what do you think about the fact that the media really is focusing on the fact that she only got like X amount of dollars, and that's like her whole life has been ruined because she only got $10,000 for her porn? That seems to be the big narrative coming out right now.
yeah, but if she hates porn so much, why does she still use the name Mia Khalifa?
True.
The thing that annoyed me about that is I was seeing so much conversation when she came out with that, what was it, like an interview or something she did? And people were like, oh, she only made that much money because she sucks and her, you know, her porn wasn't good, da da da. And it was just, she just constantly provokes and breeds so much incorrect dialogue and like conversation around porn, because she'll post or say or do an interview where she makes like some really general kind of baseless argument, and then it's like all these people are talking about it, but they don't know what they're talking about because nobody works in the industry, and it's like people don't understand.
And she
her,
made like 10 scenes. So,
yeah, her,
and let's
yes.
also bring up that she like, she has made so much money after the porn industry doing whatever with the sports thing, like using the fame that she made and acquired through that pornography. And she talks about all of this exploitation and this and that she experienced in the porn industry. And I'm not saying that she deserved that. Nobody deserves that. But if you hate porn so much, why is the entirety of your current career talking about porn? Why don't you distance yourself from it? Why don't you change your name? Because she's making money off of being Mia Khalifa.
Yeah, I never thought of that. Xander, I don't know if you're there and you're half talking or if you have us in the background.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Let me just turn you up.
Okay. Yeah. Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. Cool. Hi, everybody, again. Yeah, no, I actually just was on with Pixel Hipster like 2 days ago talking about the Mia situation. I don't know what you guys have covered because I was on the phone, but like now I'm jumping into the conversation, I guess. Is that cool?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, because there was a lot of like interesting things that happened, and I don't know the whole story about the Mia thing. But like, there was this thing about her only making like 15 grand or something off of all the scenes she did and all this kind of stuff. And like, I like everything I've ever seen of hers, like, and I don't know the logistics of this, but everything I've seen says like MiaKhalifa.com at the bottom of it. And like, it's like she owns it. And so I'm like, I just don't know where this, I don't know the story. I'm not gonna like pretend like I do. But like, I mean, the average rate for a starting female performer is like about $1,000, right? Is that can it?
And she likely got paid more than that because of the fetish scene and because Bang Bros is willing to up rates like that for like intense or like scenes that are projected to be really profitable.
Hey, Xander,
Right.
I think you have us on speaker maybe or something. You're making an echo. Oh no, you do have headphones on. I don't know why you're echoing so bad.
I'm in the Uber.
That's awesome though. You're streaming in front of like 500 people live from an Uber right now. That's great.
Is that embarrassing?
No, it's dope.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I just don't know what all that like I just like the only argument I ever hear like and from the stuff that she said is like I only made 15 grand from all like 10 or 12 of those scenes, and I was like that's about like the average that people make in the industry. Like I don't understand like where the
everybody
and how
thinks
much
we
money
make
did she make
royalties.
after?
100%, yeah.
How much money did she make off of creating a name as a pornographer? Because that's how she got all of the opportunities afterwards. She went viral. Like, you know what I mean? It's disingenuous to say, oh, I only made this much from porn, because it ignores the opportunities that she was afforded afterwards due to the popularity.
I learned too that everybody who's not in porn thinks that we make royalties off the scene. So they think like somebody like her, just because there's so much buzz around her, that she would have made like crazy bank off of it. But and that's what's annoying too, is like she could have used that to drive conversation around that, but instead it's just like, oh, like no, she sucks, that's why she only made 10-12K, and it's like she just doesn't care.
Is there anyone in the industry who like both gives, I guess, like I don't know, I don't want to say a worker cooperative, but maybe shares in the porn scenes themselves, or is it just you get paid your $1,000 and I own that forever kind of thing?
The latter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally. And some people are finally negotiating like in their contracts of, if you sell this scene to another website, you have to pay me another rate.
As in like you get paid extra if it gets
resold.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
So the thing is, if I shoot a scene for teamskeet.com, Teamskeet can later just take that content and sell it to another website.
They've done that to me after I refused to work for them anymore.
Same.
Wow. And they can sell it to something that you won't morally like be for. They could, like you guys were saying, you don't want to be part of fetish porn. They can go sell it to a fetish porn website right away.
After we shoot a scene, they can do anything in their imagination, essentially, with it.
Yeah. Our model releases are like, by the way, you've sold your soul.
Yeah. And on set, we don't even have proper time to read it, because it's like they want you to...
Actually, I used to read them when I first started shooting, and the directors would laugh at me.
Actually?
They were like, you're reading that?
What? Yeah, it's a contract. You're gonna own like my body, essentially.
But that's the thing. They don't care. That's the standard.
And what about the agents? Like, do they not?
And honestly, that's the standard for a lot of mainstream modeling too. Like models who go to set and they're paid $150 to do a bunch of photos in 10 outfits, and then they can use those photos for literally anything that they want forever.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's
But
outrageous.
the thing also, like from like my mainstream experience too, was like I did some of the movies and stuff that or like commercials and stuff that I did back in the day were buyouts where they pay you like a big lump, and then they completely own the thing and they don't have to pay you royalties. Which I get that. That's an agreement people can come to if they want. I didn't know any better when I was a fucking 17, 18-year-old, but the like with our industry, like it's like, so okay, like, and I'm sure Janice and Scarlett are pretty high on this thing too, but the like when I look at like my like Pornhub numbers, right? Like if I look at how many times I've been viewed, it's like 900, almost like 900 million like clicks. You know what I mean? And it's just like you sit there and you think about that and you're like,
could I get one penny for every one of those?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
interesting. Like that's 900, almost 900 million clicks, and okay, like you just think about that. It's like the rates that we do get paid, like, would make more sense if they also came with some type of royalty. You know what I mean?
And
If it
that's
was
why a
some
lot
type
of
thing that would be
people
like,
have switched over to OnlyFans and stuff, because then we're making the actual royalties on our scenes. Like,
And you own it as well,
and
right?
we're learning that when a company pays us X amount of dollars, this is actually how much they're making on the back end. And we're like, wait a second, I could do the same amount of work and make 50 times what I make on your set.
Yeah, I notice. Even when I open Pornhub now, and I look at the homepage, whereas it used to be a bunch of studios, I see big performers, and then the name under it is their name with their little blue check, and it makes me a little happier to see because they're getting, the millions of views and everything.
And
Oh,
has
I've been
everyone started
doing
switching
that.
over?
Most people who have the initial capital to invest in creating their own high quality pornography are, but it's hard to do that because you have to have access to the capital to invest in creating a scene. Like for me, I have to hire a camera crew, an editor, the talent, light, equipment, and stuff like that, and a location. So I actually go out of pocket and then hope to recuperate those prices later.
And there's no, like, you can't do that as an amateur, like, using a cell phone in your house and stuff like that, or like the level of quality just has to be that high now.
It doesn't have to be that high, but I'm trying to emulate the kind of pornography that they would get from a studio, but produced by me.
You get out what you put in.
The way that my company has been shooting a lot of our scenes lately has been just me and the female talent on set, and I literally use. I'll show you right now. I literally use like my phone with the 4K, like the 4K settings, and then the like the browser's phones that they gave us. I use those to set up all the like camera angles and stuff, and we shoot everything in 4K like that. Like that's how I've been doing it. So I've been doing the director and the performer job for them for a couple weeks now, and that's that's how we've done it. I can speak to like my own experience in it. But
Is it fun being on the other side too?
You also have to acknowledge the privilege of being a browser's contract star, where you are afforded a lot of opportunities and given a golden iPhone.
A literal golden iPhone.
It's so gaudy and ridiculous. There's a reason I hide it in my backpack and I don't show it. Like I don't walk around with this like as the phone I use at a restaurant or something.
I mean, it's literally got gold on it. It's heavy as hell.
Yeah, they are heavy. But the thing is, like, it's like that, and like I was saying, that's just like my own experience with the way I've been shooting things. But like even when you're to go back to what Janice was saying about how the freedom of like shooting stuff on your own at home, like compare any other scene that you and I have shot together, and then like the day we had when I did that thing with you at your place. Like it was like so relaxed and chill, and we were all just hanging out, and it was like a totally like really just, I don't know, like pleasant experience in my mind. I don't know. I hope you felt the same way. But
I
you
did.
know what
I
I
did.
mean? Yeah, it was like one of those things where it's like, when you have that like absolute structure around creating something like this, it just kind of kills the art of it too. It's just not as enjoyable of an experience. And also, sorry, one more thing, where you were saying about having the capital to shoot the big budget scenes and stuff too. Like, yeah, a lot of people, like they said, are not afforded that same luxury all the time. So,
By the way, our tests cost $165 to get tested every time we get tested, and we have to test every 2 weeks, and that's not including the COVID test now.
And none of that's covered by the studios or the agents or
Are
anything.
you kidding?
I think they're supposed to now legally, but nobody's doing it.
Is that
we can't really work with OSHA because OSHA is trying to legislate against us all the time. OSHA.
Can you explain what OSHA is to people who might not know?
I forget what the actual acronym stands for.
But sorry, just what the organization
Workers'
is.
Perfection. They're the people who make sure that like people wear gloves and can't like spit in your food as a waiter and shit like that. But the thing is, they try to regulate the porn industry in the same way that a restaurant is regulated, when that's just not realistic. Like when you have sex with someone, there's an inherent risk that you accept of sharing fluids of some kind.
Yeah. Xander, I'm just gonna turn you up for a sec.
Oh, okay. Turn me off or up?
No, I was gonna turn you up. I don't know why you're echoing so much, but you got headphones on. It's not like you're playing it on speaker, right?
I have to pee. Can someone mute me?
Yeah, I can mute you.
Oh wait, here.
You're muted.
I can still listen. Okay.
So yeah, did you see Janice at the bottom? Do you see a little microphone? If you click on it, it says it'll mute it. But I can mute you on my end too, and just tell me when you want to be unmuted. Maybe just wave when you're back.
Okay, am I muted?
You're muted.
Because I'm gonna. Well, I
Oh, wait,
want
I
to
can hear you
listen.
now.
Yeah, that's right. All right, you're down. You're off on my end, anyways.
I can hear.
Oh, but I can hear you because I can hear the echo through Corvus.
I can hear you in Discord. Just mute yourself, dude.
Yeah, I think you have to mute yourself.
Just click the.
Okay, now you're muted.
All right, you're muted. You're muted. Enjoy.
Have a nice one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So what I was saying about like the whole like capitalist idea of this is difficult because that's been the standard for so long. Is all these companies have all this money and they put us in these like places and positions to do all the things, and people are like almost. There's a lot of like coercive element to it where it's like people. We have to, and that's how a lot of the racism's gotten away with too, like with the putting black performers in stereotypically black performer situations and stuff, and like really like selling these racist tropes and stuff, has been because of the coercive power of major companies. Now, the this whole COVID, the whole the quarantines, the pandemic has really put the power back in the workers' hands a lot in our industry, where a lot of people are now realizing that they can make just as much, if not more money, not placating to these studios who don't have their best interests in mind, So there's a lot of studios that don't. Like luckily the company I shoot for now, they actually do they reimburse you for your COVID tests before we shoot, which is cool. But the there's when people are able to create their own content at home and be like their own bosses and all this, I feel like a lot of times you're not going to see the racist depictions. Hopefully, not as many of them that like the blacked and the dog fart kind of.
I think it's also to mention that Xander is contracted to.
I would say the largest company in the porn industry. So they do have the ability to reimburse people for their COVID tests, which are like $100.
Yeah, and they make billions, right? Like it's gotta be obscene how much money Brazzers makes.
Oh, absolutely, and that's
Well, because Brazzers owns the company that owns Brazzers also owns like 20 other websites.
right. And the thing that I've had a lot of board meetings with them where it's like I'm just like yelling about like all this different like set situations and all this stuff. Like I brought up a thing a couple months ago about how I was at Janice's house and I talked about how I think that like on the top of scripts when they send them out before, because agents are supposed to do this where they like look over everything and they make sure that their talent will be fine with it, but most of the time they do not. But so like one thing would be to send the things directly to the talent, the scripts, and at the top of the scripts it would have okay like coercive or race play or any of this kind of stuff that's like involved in the scene would be right at the top of the scene. Like, and I'm not condoning race play obviously, but like if people are into that, have fun. But like the it would all say these things at the top of the script, so that immediately the talent would be like, hey, this isn't something I want to do, and they're not going to show up on set with like a whole crew and all this stuff there, and then feel like they have to do it because they're already there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
These are like I've talked about a bunch of different steps like this, and how like it's completely unacceptable to shoot in a place that doesn't have a shower.
The exit interview, or how none of these fucking houses have soap.
Yeah.
In the bathroom,
everything needs to be provided for the set to make it a clean space.
Like Cal OSHA wanted to mandate condoms and like dental dams and shit like that, and it's like, could you just make sure that we have like Clorox wipes and like some Dial soap and towels?
Yeah. I also wanted to ask, because you spoke a little bit about kink shaming there, Xander. What are your thoughts on, say, and this has been asked a lot in the chat already, the prevalence of incest porn, how that's kind of like taking over the industry, and your thoughts on that? Well, I know Janice is now.
Right here. Yeah, yeah. That has been a take.
I won't shoot it.
Stuff has been. Shoot it. Yeah, my hard nose, my hard nose is like anything that like implies like the little stuff. Like that's just something I can't be a part of. Like I've walked off set for those kinds of things before.
I'm sorry. What do you mean by the little stuff?
Hold on, get these masks off.
My
like where it's like implied that the girl's very young. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
Barely legal.
Kind of stuff. Yeah, and
Right,
I'm like,
right.
nah, I'm good. Like I had a set one time where I walked on and it was literally like there was like the
children's
lollipop
clothes
and the teddy. Yeah, and I was like, fuck you, dude. I was like, no, like this is not. I'm not doing this. Like I'm no. Like.
And do you get in trouble for that? Like, do you have to
Oh
pay
yeah,
a fee,
like they were pissed at me and whatever, and they were like, well, you should have known before, blah blah blah. And I'm like, how am I supposed to fucking know that you had this like weird ass shoot set up?
Also, because you didn't send me the script.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's.
Yeah, do you usually get scripts ahead of time that'll say like this scene is gonna have blank, that kind of stuff?
Not all the time.
No. That's what I was trying to push for as well. Like that's what I was trying to like.
One of my hard no's that I've been on set for, and I actually got into a screaming match with the director and male talent over it, was they wanted me to be a babysitter or like a housekeeper who is like jerking off at home, and then the dad comes home and is like, I caught you. You better fuck me if you want to keep your job. And I'm like, oh no, I'll do anything for this job. And as a brown person with a white male talent, that doesn't sit right with me in terms of power dynamics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with that kind of stuff if it's over the top corny to the point where it's like very obviously fake. It's the realism that upsets me. Does that make sense? Like, if it was like I'm a pizza delivery person and I come up in like the craziest outfit and I'm like, "Hello, I'm going to lose my job. Can I have a big tip?" Down for that. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. But if it feels too much like reality, and I was told, "You're an actress. Why don't you just act? They're just words. Why do you care? The sex is going to be the same." And I was like, "Okay, if they're just words and the sex is going to be the same, let's cut the words."
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
change it.
change it.
Yeah.
And they instead cut the scene. They were screaming they literally cursed me out. "Fuck you, Robert from Porn Pros."
Wow.
And "Fuck you, Danny Mountain." They literally cursed me out.
That's
Like,
wild.
on set screaming at me, and I was like, "I don't know why you're yelling."
One conversation I'm seeing a lot of people having too is the language that we use to even talk about our scenes. Like, we are generally, people say boy, girl, and a lot of
We're
people have been pointing
adults.
out, yeah, we're adults.
Mhm.
It's not boys and girls, it's men and women, or however you identify. But just little things like that are normalizing.
The language we use is important.
It's also almost a way like almost like kind of a psyop, if you will, I guess, to like almost like make us feel like lower in a sense. You know what I mean?
Belittled,
Like
yeah.
the same way, like, you know, people
Microaggressive.
would, yeah, it's microaggression, yeah. I don't, yeah. Yeah, where it's almost to make us seem like we're subservient in some way, or like beneath the level of like we're the production, like blah blah blah.
Yeah, I've never thought about
You
it like that.
talent, come on, boys and girls. You know what I mean? It's like,
And it is like that. On set, talent is treated like children. We're treated like, "Oh, come on," like very much babied, but not in the way where it's like nice. It's like, "Okay, you don't know how to do anything. We're big, you're little." Like, it's crazy.
That's wild.
Non-con is the name of a porn genre of consensual, non-consensual pornography, fantasy stuff, which I do actually personally support, because I feel that there are people who have fantasies like rape fantasies, and that's okay as long as it remains a fantasy.
And you think
Or,
that it maybe helps them and might stop them from offending or something to that effect?
exactly. And I
Yeah.
actually I know someone who makes like very serious rape fetish pornography, and he is the nicest, most consent oriented person that I've ever met online. He's at Pro Villain, and he works for the Center of Positive Sexuality. He's on the board of APAC, the Adult Performer Advocacy Committee. He is the first person who ever tied me up. And in every moment, he was checking in with me to make sure that I was comfortable, that I was safe, and really helped me solidify my understanding of consent. And a lot of people would try to demonize him in that, like, he makes rape fantasy porn. But and he's not secretly a rape fetishist. He's openly a rape content performer and producer. I'm reading the chat, by the way, so I'm like replying to that. And you can feel whatever way you want to feel about rape fantasies, but there are also people who have been raped who have rape fantasies of their own. And as long as you practice your kink in a consensual and safe way without pushing it onto other people, there's no real reason that it shouldn't exist.
Can I ask this, because I know the chat was asking it, but I've wondered it as well. Do you know why incest porn has taken over the industry completely? Like it seems to be like 90% of content now.
We don't know.
Okay. It just like, did you notice it just started happening? Like every single scene you're asked to do is like, this
It's not
incest,
that it
this was
just
incest.
started happening. It's been happening like this for like the entirety of my career.
Okay.
Because like I think that they would shoot straight up incest, like actual, but like the thing is like they know that it's
You
a
legally
taboo
can't.
that a lot of people, yeah, it's a taboo that a lot of people like want to see, but legally they have to be. That's why every single time, like every single scene you're gonna see is like, okay, step sister, yeah, you know what I mean? It's like you have to.
Yeah, they
you
actually
have
call
to
it
say
step
that
porn.
at some point, yeah, because it's illegal to shoot the other stuff. And
I think that it's more
that really comes from. I think it's because it's like the forbidden fruit type deal that like is something that's in somebody's mind. But it's that's a it's I've never I don't have a personal issue with shooting those kinds of scenes. But I can see how people might not think that that's cool, and I respect other people's opinions on it. Just for me personally, I don't like. I'm not a person who's like fuck that. You know what I mean? But like I'm
not comfortable with step stuff.
Yeah,
just because I have a stepdad.
Yeah, and that's
so I'm like, ew.
Yeah, the definitely the male talent experience on set is shorter than the female talent experience on set by a lot. Like, because the girls or the female performers show up, way earlier. They have get their makeup done. They have like the pretty girl sets. For those who don't know, the pretty girl sets is like the basically all the stills they shoot of the talent before, and the guys, they don't do that shit for us really. There was a period where they tried to, and it was just we just laughed a lot, like at least I did. But they're like, yeah, like put on these different outfits and like pose, and I'm like, okay. But like it's a selling point for them to have like a whole bunch of photo sets of the female talent going on those days, and the male talent usually has to show up like when it's time to like for him to show up in the scene. You know what I mean? So that's a little bit of a difference.
Is it pleasurable the whole time, or does it feel like work, or does it kind of hover
if you're
between
good
the
at
two?
it, if you're good at it, if you're good at porn, it still feels good because the positions and stuff. I'm just speaking as a male performer, like Scarlett. I want to hear what you have to say on this too. But like as a male performer, like there's a lot of the positions we have to get into are not specifically pleasurable unless you know how to do them and show the camera, because it's not about us getting our jollies, it's about the camera and the audience, right? Like we're trying to sell a product here. So like whereas oh my god. So like so like where you would have like a doggy position.
Yeah, nice. We're getting a tutorial, everybody.
The chair, right? Who is the person? Like in normal life, it would just be straight on, right? It'd be the straight on thing. But in porn, it has to be like opened up, right?
This is like a Clint Eastwood scene.
That's not terribly comfortable in a lot of ways. So for experienced talent and people who like know what they're doing and have been have experience with this kind of stuff, or just experience in front of cameras and how to act and perform in front of them, can still maintain a lot of the pleasurable aspects whilst creating a good, fun product for the people to view. And that's just from the male talent's point of view. Like, because there's some positions that they try to put us in. Like, I don't know if you guys know what up and over is, but it sucks. I do it a lot because I'm good at it, but it's fucking annoying. And pile driver is like the dumbest thing that's ever happened.
Okay, so pile driver I know, and it's not pleasurable. It's ridiculous.
Like oh man, like your legs. Like I can only imagine what reverse cowgirl feels like for women. Like
I was about to say,
for anyone who performs the reverse position, like open, like gender regardless. Anyone who does that, good on you, because I do pile driver and it's fucking awful.
So what's up and over for us civilians?
Oh boy. Okay, so it's
you might have to get the chair out again.
Oh man. All right, hold on. So we're like, okay. So if this is a regular doggy, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like do it, but so this would be like where you climb legs over top as if you're climbing the whole thing to do, and you do the whole position that way. And a lot of times, like you do it with both legs up on like where the girl or where the female talent's like ribs are. So you're like completely over top of her and just do it. If out of context, it looks like the most ridiculous shit you've ever seen. Like if you just saw like a person doing that position with no one there, you'd be like, are they okay?
Are they fighting?
Yeah, like are they doing all right? But yeah, it's another one that like really burns your legs out. And like so we've gotten a lot of like new like planking positions that we do where like it's literally like the male talent would be like in a plank position on top and like lifting one leg up so the camera can get in and thrusting downward, I guess. You know what I mean? So that's
how about you, for Scarlett, from the female perspective? Is it work? Is it, you know?
I feel like every female performer can agree that reverse cowgirl is the devil. But I mean, typically it's typically you do the same, like, 5 or 6 positions, just kind of standard.
Mhm.
I mean, it is work. And one thing I always remember, I think it was Billy Visual who told me, and it kind of like changed my perspective of shooting, is you're not fucking, you're performing. And I think about that every time I'm on set now. Because and people all like, that's kind of like the number one question you get talking to civilians. It's like, is it real? Is it real sex? Do you fake it? Da, da. And I'm like, well, it's sex in the sense like there's obviously penetration, but we are acting, and whether or not something is the most like comfortable, even if it's laborious in real life, we're conveying that, like, we're having like the best sex of our life.
Wait, are you saying that like all the female talent I've performed with might have been faking it?
If they were, you wouldn't know.
What? Oh. Yeah. No.
How about you, Xander? Do you fake male orgasm for camera?
Yeah, all right. Like, so this is just I've only done that in real life. I've never done it on set.
I just wanted it to be over. So. Oh, sorry, baby.
Yeah, I pretended like I did a few times. I actually oh man, there was one time I did the pull out and make the sounds and like just spit on her back. I did that once because I was just really not feeling it, and she bought it, so
hey, baby.
But yeah.
A lot too depends on, to me, like the environment that's been set, whether or not it feels like work. There's been days I've been on set and I'm like, oh my god, can't believe I'm getting paid for this, because the crew was so lighthearted, it was so much fun, sex was great, chemistry with the talent was great, but sometimes, because it's not like we pick who we're casted with, so sometimes a lot of things can be off. I've been on set and felt very mistreated by the cast. I've been on set crying because the hair and makeup and wardrobe crew were just kind of bullying me. Like, there's so many variables. You could just be having a bad day. So I mean, at the end of the day, it is work. But
is there ever a phenomenon where like you start to develop feelings for like a co-actor?
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Well, I mean, but isn't that easier said than done sometimes? Like,
I mean, I'll say, like, unless do you want to go, Scarlett?
I was gonna say, like, I've had like industry crushes, and it's like we were really excited to shoot with each other, and scene was amazing, but it didn't really translate off screen or anything, because I just feel like there's a mutual understanding, like, this is what we do for a living. So I feel like, but I mean, some porn stars date and get married, and so
yeah, some can, but in my experience, I would say it's difficult. Like, unless you're prepared to take another sex worker for all that they are and fully accept them in their sexuality and their needs and stuff, then it can be rough, because a lot of people will say like, yeah, it's all good, like we're dating in the industry or whatever, like we're an industry couple, but then very quickly you start to see like all of a sudden like, I don't want you working with this person, I don't want you working with that person, I don't want like all this stuff, or like fights happening because
Interesting.
I've had fights happen because a scene that I did looked really good and it looked like me and the girl were really into each other, and I'm like, yeah, that's the job, you know, that's like that's what we did. You know, I'm a person.
Huh? Oh, so good. No, go ahead.
Oh no, it's like I like, for my, like when I've dated in the industry too, it's like I would much rather the girlfriend I had at the time be like have a fun, great experience on set. I've had a lot of issues with insecurity, like that's just me. Like I have a lot of issues with insecurity and stuff, and that's why I choose not to be in relationships anyway. Anymore, like traditional relationships. But like it's stuff that I have to deal with in therapy, and I have to actually seek help with my own self-image and like the way I feel about myself. And I know that like, I'm not one of those people who's going to be like, yeah, every person I've dated sucked. Like they were wonderful. I was probably a fucking moron most of that time. Like, and I accept that, and I know that about myself, and I have a lot of places to grow, just like everybody who I've been in relationships does too. Everybody has to grow and learn. And I don't know. It can be dangerous because jealousies and insecurities and all this kind of stuff can get in the way of sex work.
I was going to ask, what's it like dating people outside of the industry? Like, is that even possible?
Yeah, I've actually had less issues.
Scarlett's doing a like no face, and you're like, yeah.
I think like in just using the binary for a second, I think that the experience for the male and the female is different with that in a lot of ways. I think like
just like, the masculine insecurity of having like,
absolutely
your partner sleeping with other men.
Yeah.
Well,
I just got the knock. I have to go.
Good luck.
Do the Lord's work. So once again, I love you guys. Thank you so much, Scarlett. Thank you, Lance. So my Twitter and Twitch are both at xcorvus777. xcorvus777, and then Instagram's at Fantastic Voyage, and I might be streaming some Twitch later tonight. We'll see.
Nice.
Playing like Fall Guys or some shit. I don't know. But anyway, thank you again for having me on.
If you're back on when I'm done, I'll raid into you.
Oh, sick! All right, cool. Take it easy, man.
Enjoy the Lord's work.
I shall. Bye, guys.
Bye, Xander. And sorry, what were you going to say, Scarlett, in terms of in terms of dating people?
Yeah, I've had only one real experience with a boyfriend while I was in the industry, and it was very like, it really takes a strong, secure person, which is what you would assume anyway. But I just remember a lot of like just, I feel like subconscious, like messing up my shoots for me, that were like at the time really big opportunities for me that to this day they've still never rescheduled. They didn't even want to see the porn, or like just very kind of talking me into like leaving mainstream and just doing like solo content for other reasons, but really like at the end of the day it was probably insecurity and stuff. So it definitely takes somebody who's very, very secure, and like something built like that where they're not okay with it and they're kind of ignoring it, like it can only last for so long. So
do most porn stars date other porn stars? Is that just,
I think,
or just stay solo?
Yeah, I think most of them stay single, and then the ones who do date, they kind of date if not in the porn industry, somebody else in entertainment. But I mean, me personally, I'm not interested in anybody in the porn industry. But yeah, I mean, like I said, some of them are married and are big performers. So yeah, I guess it's just like an individual basis. But I'd say mostly they're single anyway. So
Interesting.
I
So
feel like
what's
a lot of
what's-
performers aren't really like nymphos off screen either. So
is yeah, that's a weird stereotype because like I imagine everyone's like, well, if they're into porn, they must just love sex so much they have to have it all the time, right?
hmm
But it's probably like
people think that's the only reason that people are performers, and I'm like, or like people would ask me like, why did you join? Like, cause you just love to fuck. And I'm like, no, like I actually enjoy my job outside of the sex aspect. Like to me, that's just one part of it. Like I enjoy like the flexibility, the, you know, things that come with being a professional performer. I like this industry. I like, you know, the opportunities it's afforded me. Um, but I'm, you know, guys are always so surprised that you're a little like prude off camera. Or I'll get like a lot of advances, you know, people who would never book a full service sex worker try to make that advance on me. And I'm not offended by anybody thinking that I escort, but I'm just kind of offended by the implications that they're kind of making, like, oh, like you must just do it all, or like, you know, they feel like entitled to me because they've watched me in that way entertain. So
I guess they form a parasocial relationship with you too, right? Because like I
Mhm.
have that as a result of doing Twitch, but like it's yours. I guess would take it to the next level because it involves sex as well. So
yeah, there's a level of intimacy. Yeah.
well, I was gonna say, do you, like, is it unusual then meeting fans at all these expos and stuff? Or are they always like, I'm a huge fan of your work, and you're like, okay, well, like,
Um, I haven't had that many run-ins with huge fans. Because when I did my first AVN, I got sick as a dog, so I didn't even get to finish that one. Um, and then the following expo was Exotica, and I wasn't brand new, but it was like not even a year in, so you know I didn't have crazy fans. I did have a fan come because it was in Chicago, and I had a fan come from Michigan, which I thought was cool, but um, I realize a lot of guys come to sex expos looking to pick up the porn stars, and
oh,
to me, it's like a level of delusion or just like, and to me, that's part of the problem with the exploitive themes in porns. Like, oh, I'm just like hooking up with this person for like, you know, X dumb reason, whatever. They think that you're really like that, like in person, and like they really think they can come to your booth and not spend any money, and you know, use their best pickup lines or whatever, and you're just gonna leave the expo with them. So,
it's gotta be
I
so
did
creepy.
have, yeah, I did have guys like hovering at my booth, and you know at the time I was a little too timid to just be like, are you gonna buy something or not, like, and if you're not, get away because you're gonna drive other, you know,
Yeah,
customers away.
potential
um
customers.
and I'm really too nice, but I've sat there and let guys go on for like 45 minutes like just asking questions and just like talking, you know, what are you doing after this, or just really rude, some of them. "Oh, I wanted to see such and such, but she's not at her booth, so I'll guess I'll come talk to you, and, um, do you wanna
You're my
go to
C
the"
tier.
Yeah, like, "Do you wanna go to the steakhouse afterward?" Like, just saying really creepy stuff like, "Oh," like, you know, like, I felt kinda pressured to agree to certain things, and they're like, "Okay, like, I'll be waiting for you, like, you know, at the door where we
Jesus.
exit." Um but yeah, just there's definitely like a bond that they grow, and it's kind of like how Janice was talking about her subscribers expect so much because they pay like a monthly fee. It's just overall just a theme of entitlement to us and our bodies, and um you see a lot of like, oh, why would anybody pay for your content when there's X amount of videos of you for free? And it's just like, okay, do you think I'm, you know, obligated to just provide you with more free content just because there's, you know, videos of me out there? So yeah, definitely a
I
theme of
was
entitlement.
well. I
Mhm.
was also gonna ask when it comes to well, I guess not only the fans, but is there something about like when you go to these expos? Is it for networking as well, or are you just looking like? Is it are you there basically to sell your brand?
I think I walked into it very blindly. I didn't really know. how the hell expos worked or what to bring. I knew like I was supposed to have like merch kind of like for my booth. But I think my first couple expos, all I had was a couple prints because I didn't know how to buy my DVDs for like the wholesale price or whatever. And one thing I keep forgetting every time I go is a business card because a lot of people haven't heard of me or don't know who I am. So I definitely need to work on that. But it's more so fan to performer based. That's kind of the idea they're selling is like, oh, Alexis Texas is gonna be here, or XYZ is gonna be here. Come meet them, or just to be able to see these people in person is definitely the basis. But I mean, there are a lot of sites that have booths or like just toy companies, but I've never personally networked that much there. It's not like or I guess it depends what expo you go to. AVN, huge, all the agencies are there, a lot of the sites and stuff. But as far as like Exotica and some of the other smaller scale ones, it's definitely more just like fan to performer based.
All right, I got one last question because I know I've had you for like 3 hours. So, and I really appreciate it, Scarlett. By the way, it was awesome talking to you. I never got a chance to ask anyone this, but when it comes to like being a lefty in the porn industry, how does that work? Like, do you because to me, there's been nothing more shocking than when I find out a porn star I like it happens to be super conservative, and I'm just like, oh god, like it's so terrible, right?
Yeah. I thought that was like the norm was to be like socially aware in porn because like I've said a couple of times, I thought everybody was just so ethical. And I thought my experience with online sex workers was going to translate to the industry. And then I kind of realized, not by anybody telling me, but just through experience, that like, okay, these people are kind of like sick in the head. Like, it's so much it's like a free for all, and it's hard to, like we were talking about, unionizing, and to me it's hard in general to have order because we're all self-employed or independent contractors up until this year at least. And everybody's kind of off doing their own thing, still being their own person. And one of the reasons I feel like there's still so many not socially aware or like kind of ignorant performers that are like conservative or whatever you want to call it, I just call them racist, is because I really don't want to say anybody can do it because I don't like that stigma that it's just so easy and you just sign up, but it really is like they find these people on Instagram. There's no like screening or like PR aspect. I mean, some performers have a PR, but you really can just shoot a couple of scenes and then here you are with this platform kind of handed to you because you're on these tube sites where millions of people are watching you, and it's giving anybody a platform. And I mean, that's kind of how social media today works anyway, but to me the biggest enabler of it is there are no consequences. And there was a performer that just maybe like a month ago went on like a rant about Black Lives Matter, and using just the most like arbitrary meme, and was somehow like trying to relate it, was referring to Black Lives Matter as animals or savages or something, which to me, you're very thinly veiling your desire to call Black people animals and savages. And it pissed me off because I'm like, only in this industry can you say something so absurd and you're not going to get deplatformed. And really, they get encouraged because, same way there's conservative performers, there's conservative fans. So there, and a lot of people really just don't care if the performer they're watching is racist or homophobic or conservative, like any of those values, because to them it's just sex. And a lot of what I was seeing when me and other performers were being vocal was, oh, you really expect this site to be ethical? It's porn. And it, like, my reverse ask is just kind of, why can't porn be ethical just because it's sex?
Oh man, I just encourage you to get out of your comfort bubble that you live in our society of this. I know we're all in troubled times right now in this world. There's a lot of chaos happening, but get out of your comfort, get out of your little bubble, and maybe look around and see what's going on here. That's been going on here for hundreds of years, since before you were born, and become an ally and just get alongside us, like it was meant to be. We were meant to be, live together here in a spirit of friendship and a spirit of peace. And that's just not happening, and it's not going to be leveled or good for any of us going forward until we reconcile and make this right. So I just encourage you to just maybe get to know us, and let's work it out.
Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. We discuss pretty much anything, whether it's broader questions of principle and strategy or current events. Das ist eigentlich ein mehrsprachiger Kanal. Verschiedene Beiträge auf Deutsch ins Netz gestellt worden. Y varios videos he hecho en castellano también. And of course in English. 日本語でビデオを作成することもありえますし, 조선말로 관련 편지물을 제작할지도 모르겠습니다. I look forward to seeing you.
To our God, I'm Wrath. We pray at your altar of greatness. To our monarch, Thomas Bone, you are the light that guides our path. To our lords, Jeffrey Lamb, Trevor R., Stephen, Ninetails Cosmic Fox, Hans Josephine, and Poppy Nelson, we bow meekly for your pleasure. To our Knights of the Round Table, Josh Mickelson, Dylan Veith, Alexander Thaler, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, Todd Lajeunesse, Clement Chetska, Skybear Games, Moss Beast, Political Puppy, Ali Menthol, Jimmy Bignuts, Alan R., Andreas Chitoro, Good Poon Hates Cops, That's Solid Poon Then, Dr. Zayas, Joppy, Radiclu, Violent Orchard, and Sophie Baby, we salute you. And to our many merchants and farmers, thank you. Fuck you, Lance!